We're just looking for these individuals as they're registered to vote here. John Thomas and Philip Thomas. Is Gloria here by chance? Because she's 100 years old and she voted last election from here.
Can you see my? I said I want.
I just want to make sure you're not 126 years old.
No, I'm not.
And do you think it's possible like illegal migrants could be voting?
Not really.
Do you know where the ballots might have gone? Like for 108 people, that were registered here?
When it comes to fraud, most people think about money. However, there's another potential massive fraud story taking place in America, one tied to the most consequential system in our country, which is our voting system. This has to do with everything about who runs the country and how elections are actually controlled. And if we don't have voter integrity, what even are we? And there's one state that is the breeding ground for potential voting fraud, and that is California, where it can take up to 1 month to count all of the votes, no voter ID, and millions of ballots are cast by mail. And with voter rolls that are extremely vulnerable to errors, such as over 200 people who are over the age of 125 years old registered to vote in certain areas. And now to see how easy it is to vote, I headed to the location to register to vote inside the state of California. Now this is the register of voters right here, and I want to ask him, why don't you need voter ID to vote here inside of California? I was curious, how come in California you don't need voter ID to vote?
Because when you sign your affidavit, you're swearing that you're telling us the truth, and we compare the signature that you put on your application to the
Battery 65%.
Do you think it leaves any room for error with voter ID, or? Yeah, I'm just curious because I want to make sure that our elections are as fair and honest as possible, and I feel like voter ID is just something super simple to have. And do you think it's possible illegal migrants could be voting?
not really. How? I mean, what's showing their ID?
Yeah, if they don't have their ID and they could just sign on behalf of Richard Sherman, then they could technically vote, right?
They would be right.
Yeah, but what if they just don't care? What if Richard Sherman and Billy Bob Joe just don't care? But so you don't think illegals would ever vote, would you?
I don't think so.
No. So instead of showing your ID, you sign your signature and then it is scanned to verify it is you. So technically speaking, anyone could show up saying they are someone, and if the signature is similar, that vote will then count. And with millions of people voting, it leaves room for fraud to occur. Just take these two examples.
A Southern California woman is facing 5 felonies after registering her dog to vote in 2 elections. The dog's vote was even counted in one of those elections. Those behind the stunt say she did it to show the flaws of the current system.
Hundreds of people who cast votes according to state records, but we found they've been dead for years, including a woman who died in 1988, and records show she somehow voted in 2014, 26 years after she passed away. Then there's Julita Abutin. Records show she voted in Norwalk in 2014, 2012, 2010, and 2008. The only problem is she's buried here at Forest Lawn. Abutin died in 2006. Is it possible your mother voted in 2014?
There's no way.
Abutin's daughter Maravik says it's certainly impossible that her mother voted, but the LA County Registrar confirms they have signed vote-by-mail envelopes with her mother's name for the 2014 and 2012 election, even though she died 10 years ago.
So it's not some crazy conspiracy theory to think that people are illegally voting inside the state of California. And with the state receiving millions of illegal migrants, the opportunities for fraud now are even higher as millions of undocumented people are living inside of the state. Now let's go meet up with a man by the name of Urson, who has dedicated years of his life digging through voter rolls, finding fraud and inconsistencies throughout the state. So how bad is the voter fraud here in California?
Well, we actually don't know because law enforcement isn't really investigating it, and we don't have people qualified to actually figure that out.
And what kind of fraud is taking place?
Well, we have voter rolls of about 22 to 23 million people in California, And we have, just in Orange County per se, there's 60 to 70,000 changes a month that happens. So the amount of time and effort to go and follow up with every one of those, we just don't have the resources to do that.
And so what information have you been collecting about the voting fraud here in California?
We have people that are still in our rolls from 2008 that are still getting ballots mailed to them that haven't voted in 18, 16 years.
And so if they haven't voted, what's the problem with them receiving those ballots?
Well, sometimes there's votes that happen later on with someone that hasn't lived here for 12 years. And we found several occurrences of that. When we turn that in, those are treated as independent incidences that don't affect the outcome of the election. So they're highly disregarded from our concerns as voters.
And what information do we have right here?
Well, we've got several different pieces that we're looking at today. One thing that's just a simple anomaly for people to understand is there's people that show to be 125 years old in our voter rolls. And that's a simple data flaw, but the issue is it keeps happening over and over again to the tune of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds in every county. That's a large size like where we're at today. Another one is we have a lot of voters that are at central locations, 10, 12, 15 people at a place where what is this business? What is it doing? These people are still going to continue to get ballots. Another one is like a lot of the sororities in the dorm houses, where we have typical turnout, or voter turnout is like in the 50 to 70% range, but it's like 106 out of 108 votes cast. So it doesn't mean that that's fraud, but it means these are out of the normal order of what happens. And so that's what we're going to be going around and looking at today and seeing what's out there and what we can find. We have a system where you can register to vote in California without a driver's license number or social security number. Why do we allow that? That creates 9.6 million records that then the state has to send to the Social Security Administration. And when 75% of those come back with no matching Social Security record, it should make every Californian wonder, why do we have a system like that? Why do we have a system that's creating work and uncertainty?
And so what have you done to get this information about the voter fraud that's taking place here in California?
Well, we get our information from the Secretary of State. We get it directly from them. It's a lot of information, and it's very complex. And so we get this from the state, we package it up, and we help with our other researchers across the state that go and break it down into their own counties.
So we have all this information, and now we're going to go head out into the streets of California and see what fraud we can find. Where's the first place we're going?
We're going to the local retirement community, and the reason this one is just kind of particularly odd, you got 45 people registered, and 41 of them actually turned out to vote in the last election. So that's just, again, not typical for 55 to 70% turnout. So it's a mental crisis senior rehabilitation center. So we're just going to go there and see, is there 45 people there? Is there beds? And check it out. Can we speak to the supervisor?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, it looks like there was maybe 41 of 45 people that are registered here. Does that seem low or high to you? Like as far as how many patients or residents you have?
That's probably not accurate anymore.
So that lady right there said that that's probably not accurate.
Right.
So this could be a huge location where hundreds of votes could be casted from this one location. She said that numbers sound like they're inaccurate, 41 out of 45.
Correct. So is there a lot more people that could be registered to vote and could be having their voices expressed?
Well, let's move on to the next location.
You got it.
Now we're here in the University of San Diego because they got lots of voters here. But what's the deal with this location?
It's some sort of institute for peace and justice, so it doesn't seem like you'd have a lot of voters like registered at some sort of an administrative office, but it very well could be, there's students that are all over the place here, so maybe it's some sort of a central mailing house or something like that.
You have a conference room, you have Garden of the Sky, the Kroc School, classrooms, conference rooms, anything but dorms. And this is the location where 58 people are registered to vote here inside of the state of California.
Is this like a central mailing location, like this building for students and stuff?
No, this one is not. So we do have a mail center.
Because right here on the John B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice, it says we had 58 registered to vote, and 50 people voted from this location.
So is 5998 Alcala Park? You're saying
is the entire university.
Is the entire university. So where do the ballots go?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I have never seen them.
So far, we're 0 for 2 as far as getting any clarity about where these votes are being cast from here.
Yeah, or any sort of real clarity.
And at these locations, when there's only around 40 to 50 people registered to vote, in locations where there's hundreds and thousands of people, it leaves lots of room for speculations, especially when nobody actually knows what the real count is and where the votes are being casted from. And just a reminder, all this information from Urson is the most up-to-date information from the Secretary of State of California as far as the voter rolls go. The fraud continues. Now we're outside of a extra space, a storage unit location. Here, 5 people are registered to vote.
Correct.
Did they cast their votes?
3 of them did in the 24 election, then we had 1 that cast a ballot in the 2020 election and 1 that's never voted. The point is that unless this is a primary residence, right, or where you can sleep, right, which no one's supposed to by law allowed to sleep in their public storage unit, then this is not a legal registration. And these are the things that the county continues to let slip through the cracks.
Let's see if they're here. We have the names of all 5 people. Let's see if they're here. How's it going, sir?
How are you doing today?
Good. We're just looking for a few people here. We have Lily Morey, Philip Thomas, Sidney Thomas, Robert Thomas. We're just looking for these individuals as they're registered to vote here.
Do you have people that live here at extra space?
Are you Robert Thomas?
Oh, okay. Okay, so who gave you this list real quick?
Oh, from the Secretary of State.
Yeah, it's publicly available information.
What about Robert, Sidney, Philip, and Lily Thomas? What about them? Do they also get their ballots here?
Who?
Robert Thomas, Sidney Thomas, John Thomas, and Philip
Give me a
Thomas.
second.
Do you know where any of those individuals are? Any of the Thomases?
No, they're not here right now.
There's no one living in storage facilities, right? That's
No,
really
right?
the question, right? Just wondering if people are actually living in storage facilities or not.
So 5 people are registered to vote here. They confirmed that nobody lives here. A little fishy. California's got some weird things going on. So 5 people, and they didn't know where any of the Thomases were, but this is their primary location.
Well, if those 2 people actually live here and this is where they stay, their primary residence, right? They get their driver's license here, their tax stuff comes here, it's completely legal. But the other people that are here that they didn't know or do know or so forth, right? Are they someone that was just getting something in a storage facility? So,
But this is a storage facility. There's no apartments here.
no,
Nobody's living here.
not inside the storage facilities. But if the couple that we spoke to is actually, this is their primary residence, that would be legal under state law.
But for these 5 people that are registered and that cast their votes,
and if it's not them, then no, those are not legal.
those are illegal votes. And so that right there is 5 potentially fraudulent votes in one location inside of a storage unit. This is super important to understand before we go to the next location. In California, when you register to vote, you must be your domicile location, which is your primary residency. You can then put a different address to receive your mail, but for it to be on the voter registration form and for the voter rolls, it must be your domicile address, your primary address. Now we're going to start going to some of these locations where people have put their primary addresses as P.O. boxes. In locations like the one we're about to go to, over 30 people are registered to vote at this one UPS store. With this fraud, a lot of these people registered to vote have their primary residency at a UPS store or a United States Postal Service location. Right here, we have over 30 people who are registered to vote, and all these people right here, there's over 30 of them, are registered to vote, and this is their location, and a large majority of them actually voted in the 2024 election against Trump and Joe Biden. And right here we have Gloria. Gloria voted in the last election. She's 100 years old.
Yeah, born in 1925, still kicking.
What do you think about over 30 people are registered to vote in this UPS store right here? Is that a little strange to you?
Is it through P.O. boxes?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you trying to do, or what are you trying to prove?
Yeah, so
so you have to be registered where you live, right? Where your primary residence is. And so if you've got a primary residence that's a UPS store, there's a real tiny houses, inside the UPS store for people to live in.
Probably. What's your guys' affiliation?
my name's
We're just
Nick Shirley.
citizens. Yeah,
Could you live inside a P.O. box?
No.
So do you think it's a little strange that here in California you have lots of people who are registered to vote from these P.O. boxes, meanwhile you don't even have to show your ID when you go and vote?
I don't want to be part of the whole MAGA storyline. Thank you.
This isn't a MAGA storyline, man. This is just the straight up facts. Now we're going in. How are you guys doing? Yeah.
You're not allowed to be here. Can you step outside?
Could we talk to somebody?
No. Can you step
This is super important.
Yeah, can you step outside?
It has to do with our elections here, ma'am.
Okay, outside.
Can someone come and talk to us?
Is Gloria here by chance? Because she's 100 years old and she voted last election from here. All right, so they won't even speak to us. Do you know Gloria? She's 100 years old. She voted last election here. She's supposed to live in one of these P.O. boxes.
Well, no, I have no idea.
A little strange, right? Yeah. Sir, have you ever met like a Gloria or anything? She's supposed to live in one of these P.O. boxes. She voted. No. No idea. And another thing that's super concerning about all this fraud taking place is right now the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is also leading the way on Polymarket as to who's going to be the Democrat nominee in 2028. What do you think it says about states that don't require people to have voter ID?
It's like inconsistent, so people can kind of like tweak it however they want. So I don't know, I don't trust it, that's why.
Should states require people to show voter ID when they go and vote?
100%. Like I think like people should be verified that that's them voting and that's like them as a person. Like that needs to be like a face-to-face action. If they can't, there needs to be another way of verification.
And what makes you think that way? A lot of people don't think that way about voter ID.
I don't know. I think it's just like a common sense thing. Like it should be you that's voting and like your vote that's going through. So it's not just like anybody.
Do you think people would pass you off for Ralph Salcido if you just said you're Ralph Salcido?
No. Like if I said that to me, they'd be like, really? If I walked up and like I said, oh yeah, I'm 100 years old, they'd be like, what? You can't like fake age. So
this building here in downtown San Diego, there's over 16 people who are registered to vote at this address right here. And would it surprise you if inside of this building alone, there's 15 people registered to vote, yet all the windows are boarded up?
Oh, one of the business was ducats, and I never saw anybody go in or out of there.
15 people are registered to vote, and a lot of them voted in the 2024 election.
Doesn't surprise me. This is California for a reason.
Do you think voter fraud takes place here in California?
100%.
And do you trust Gavin Newsom?
No, not at all. You could tell by the way he talks. He never wants to answer a real question. Let's see, he calls ICE, basically calls them out, calls them terrorists. In some ways, I kind of hope he runs for president. That means someone else is going to get governor, and if he doesn't make it as president, his political career is done. I don't see him winning. I really don't.
Right now in Polymarket, he's leading for the Democrats as far as who's going to be the next nominee.
Yeah, Kamala was leading. Look how that went.
Do you think California should require voter ID?
Do I think that voters should require voter ID?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Why?
How come you need an ID when you go to the airport?
I don't know why you got to do that either.
So do you think it's possible to have fair elections here in the United States if people don't prove who they actually are by giving their ID when they go and vote?
That's too. I can't even answer that. Because I'm like this. If you're here, you can vote. It's just too much paperwork.
Too much paperwork?
Yeah, too much bureaucracy, too much stuff. It's just too much.
So when you go vote, you don't want to show your ID?
Nah. Heck nah, for what?
To prove that you are you.
I mean, I'm me anyway. I'm me anyway.
So no ID?
Nah.
What if I wanted to vote on behalf of your name?
Why would you want to do that? Tell me why I want to do that, and then I can make a decision.
What if I wanted you to vote Democrat and you're a Republican?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, that's a point. But I still ain't approving of it.
We headed to the next location, and it was the exact same thing where tons of people were registered to receive votes from a P.O. box. So we were wondering, do these people live here?
I don't know.
Like, are they living inside the post office?
This is the address of the post office, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like their mailing address. That's like their actual like registration address. Do you see ballots that have like P.O. box on them and things?
Yeah.
And it's not a problem if someone is registered here to receive their ballot, but if this is their primary residence, that is a problem. And that's what the case is for all these people right here.
And it's an illegal registration based on state law.
Because this leaves a lot of leeways for people to vote fraudulently, whether it be ballot harvesting or them just voting on behalf of somebody else.
And that's the thing that we have the greatest concern, right? 23 million ballots go through some process. This is one post office in one city, in one county, in our entire state, right? So it just has an exponential impact when you add up all the little small things that are going on.
As you can see, there's a lot of issues with these voting rolls and a lot of inconsistencies. And one of these inconsistencies is people over the age of 100 years old that are eligible to vote. For instance, there's a lot of people over the age of 125. And in this video, we just filmed around a 15-mile radius, so imagine what it's like all across the state of California. And now let's go see if there's actually 126-year-olds voting in California. Are you Doris?
She's right here. Yes.
Hello, Doris.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
We're just going through the voting rolls here, and we're just confirming anybody who's above the age of 100 years old. And right here it says you're 126 years old.
No, you got the wrong house. That's a lie.
Are you Doris Wood?
Yeah, but you got the wrong house. I'm Doris Wood, but you got the wrong place. That's the wrong information, all that stuff. No, that's wrong.
Oh, here, I can show you if you like.
No, it's just that it's wrong.
How come you think here in California they're just messing up on all these voting rolls here?
I don't know, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it says you voted in 51 elections, Doris.
No, not me.
Really?
I'm not no 100-some years old.
I know.
I said I wasn't.
I just want to make sure you're not 126 years old.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it really does say you're 126 years old here.
No.
Says,
Who did this be 126? That don't even make sense.
I know, that's what the Secretary of State says.
Well, the Secretary of State is wrong.
Okay, well.
Put it like this, I was born in 1940, so you figure that out.
All right, Doris. You have a good evening. All right, so this lady's named Virginia. She's 125 years old. She's voted over 55 times, and she's active on the voter rolls here in California. Let's see if she's home. Hi, how's it going, sir? Doing good?
No, I'm cooking.
Okay, well, I'll be quick. I'm just looking for Virginia, 125 years old.
125 years old?
Yeah. She's registered to vote at this location right here. Is Virginia here?
Yeah, but she ain't no 125 years old.
Really? How old is Virginia then?
80.
80? Well, here on the state of California, she's 125 years old. And she's voted in 55 elections.
Nope.
Is there another Virginia?
No, not here.
Virginia?
10-4. It's only one in the whole world.
Only one in the whole world? Well, I hope she's voting good, because... So she's not 125?
No.
No. Well, is Virginia doing good at least?
So. Well, she's a year younger than me, and I'm 82.
Say, go tell Newsom, she ain't 125, she 81.
Okay.
Awesome, you do that. Have a good one. Do you see what the problem is? Every location we went to inside this video, there's something wrong with the voter rolls. Whether or not the person's 125 years old, it actually doesn't matter. The part that matters is that the information is wrong on the person who's supposed to be voting here inside the United States. And the other locations, people aren't supposed to be living inside of P.O. boxes, yet they are registering to vote out of P.O. boxes, making it impossible to track back who that person is to see who actually cast that vote. This leads to lots of fraud, and everyone should be concerned about the integrity of our elections when people cannot show their own ID when they show up to vote.